Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Danielle, hashtag damsel at These Enlightened Edits. Today I wanted to give you a bit of a different energy update and perspective about the current energies, the winter solstice, and the great conjunction that we are currently having. Blessings to you in all of that transition. And just to let you know, this video is also timeless. So although we are going to be discussing the energies that are very relevant to now, my guides and I wanted to present this very different perspective so that you could use it as a tool going forward to help you navigate through 2021 and beyond as well. So as you can see here, we will be working with runes, and we are working with the Rune Earth Wheel of the year. Just some preliminary information on runes. Runes are spiritual tools and symbols. Many of you who are familiar with light language or light codes may actually recognize them in your work, even if you have not been familiarized with the process of runes. And runes are associated with the Norse deity Odin, also known as Allfather. Now, Odin is a deity who has been waking up many souls throughout our collective and throughout our different timelines. He is also a deity who can really relate to us where we are now and to us living a human experience in ascension and awakening, and understanding the trials and tests that we sometimes go through in order to ascend, because Odin himself went through these trials in order to download the runes. He in fact gave up an eye to do so. So you will sometimes see him as being depicted missing one of his eyes, although there is some controversy about which eye he actually gave up and if that was in fact his third eye. But he went through this to understand and download the secrets of the runes, and then to be able to share them with us. It's also important to note that runes were not cast to tell the future. They are divination tools, and they can be cast for future telling. But runes, much like my perspective and practice of reading, they've always been cast to help you read and understand the energies and your own subconscious and superconscious, and see how both of those can help you read the timelines and understand the current projections that could be taking place, and then use that information that comes through with the divination to decide, as you're informed and emboldened with the power of information, if you wish to continue in the course that's being shared with you through the runes, or if you'd like to use the runic power and other powers at your disposal to change course and do any healing or timeline rewriting that you would need to do to change course. So as we're working with this rune wheel of the year, it is a tool that you can use, as I said, at any time to help you navigate through the course of this or any year and better understand it. But it's also important to note that we are in a time of shifting timelines, and that each of us can be on a different timeline at any time. Also, very similarly to astrology and having a natal chart or an astrological chart, these things are meant to be guides. These are meant to be maps, and it is helpful to remember that you have the power to rewrite that at any time. So what I wanted to share, and how this rune wheel came back into my awareness, really started in November of this year, November of 2020. And in November, I took this photo, which I'm going to share with you now. And this was outside my window, and you can see here behind the flag the Rune of Hegel. And this showed up during the time here where I am in the US, where we were going through still counting ballots and votes, and of course, a time of great political change, but where the whole world has been going through this time of Hegel in one time or another. So you will see this rune here is very clearly depicted behind the flag. So of course there's US connection there. But for anyone here, it shows up in coordination. Hegel shows up, as you can see on the chart here, within the exact same time frame that I took the photo. So it shows up approximately October 23rd through November 22nd in Scorpio season. And you can see here from my phone details, actually I took that picture at 11:11 on November the 15th. And Hegel is a rune of disruption, it's a rune of upheaval, it's a rune of change and storms and the wrath of nature. And I'm sure you can all agree that 2020 was a time, even before the pandemic took hold, we had a lot of the wrath of nature. We had a lot of great fires in our world and earthquakes. And then, of course, the nature of viruses took effect. It is a shadow rune, so perfect to come up there in shadow season, but like any good shadow work, it helps us to see where we need to change or where we currently have limitations. So as you can see, Hegel is the first rune listed here in the warrior family. And here is some alternate brief explanations of the warrior family, and these are the runes that we are primarily going to be working with. We are going to be working with them in our part of the Wheel of the Year in order, from Hegel all the way down to the bottom one there, the rune of the sun, Suelo. And please bear with me on my pronunciations if you're very, very familiar with this. I have not fully downloaded all of my Old Norse self yet to properly pronounce them, but I am trying. So if you'd like to pause and take screenshots, these charts are very, very helpful. This is actually, these photos come from a physical chart from Helion Publishing. They're called Sacred Wisdom charts. So the rune wheel is on the front of the chart, and then these little brief explanations are on the back of the chart. I actually have them hanging in my room, and they fell when I needed to pay further attention and help make this video for you. But definitely credit to and thanks to them for the images. But just so you can also see, runes are broken down into families. So they start with the Earth family, then here where we're currently in the Warrior family, which if you're a light worker, I'm sure you have felt this element of needing to be a warrior in these times. And then there is also a third family of the Heaven family. I really recommend, if you're drawn to this work at all, getting to familiarize yourself with the runes, because they will show up for you from your guide teams in so many different ways. And towards the end, I will show you another way where this symbol showed up for me, and it's really just something helpful to have in your toolkit so that you can have a spiritual vocabulary where the universe can communicate with you and send you signs at any time. So we're going to be going back into the wheel chart now that you have seen the symbols that we're actually working with. The next one on the list here is the rune of Nowthies. So after we've moved through that period of Hegel, we go into that period of Nowthies, or the letter N here on the chart. That's kind of the bridge between Scorpio season and Sagittarius season. Nowthies is a rune of patience and caution, sometimes delays and conflict, in order for us to start to bust through the limitations that have been brought up through the previous cycles. It's also important to note that something I noticed really before we started this Hegel period was it was a time of great growth and inspiration, and then suddenly this Hegel period came in and started us in this cycle. So I want you to know that if you were keeping your head above water and still feeling really positive through the pandemic and through the changes of 2020, and then you just suddenly got hit with something, you are absolutely not alone in that. And this chart, by the way, is also really helpful because you can see some elements and some colors and some crystals that also can coordinate with these runes. So again, I encourage you to take a screenshot and work this further if you're drawn to do so. So next we entered the phase of Esus. What the rune of Esus teaches us is to be still again, right? Because we often went through a lot of chaos in the previous two runes. A lot of things were stirred to the surface, and all of a sudden our bodies and souls draw us to want and need to rest and be still. It's often a time of separation in order for us to have introspection. So this may be a time where you really have needed to separate yourself from the collective, from social media, from friends or family or loved ones, because you just feel like all of a sudden you don't have that much of a handle on your own energy and emotions, and you really need that stillness or that time of rest in order to get back in touch with that. If you are in resistance or in fight of that, you may feel a lot of energy loss. And this is also a time where psychological blocks come to the surface for us to see where we have our own limiting beliefs, where we have patterns instilled that have not been working for us, and what work we really need to do to start to break those down. And often a lot of this work happens in that stillness, psychologically and energetically, and in things that don't necessarily look like productivity or fruitful results yet. And it can be a time where we start to question if all the work we've been doing will start to have effect, and if and when it will start to have effect. So sometimes in Esus you also go through trials of faith and really being asked to combat those spiritual and psychological mental blocks and tap back in to spiritual faith, because then we go into the period that we are in now, which is the phase of Jarrah, the winter solstice. Jarrah is it's also pronounced. This is our current period. This is a time when we do our best to let all of that previous stuff go and have our harvest of the rewards that we've really worked for over the past year, but really over the past lifetimes. It is a time of harvest and reward and peace and plenty and commitment to good. And this is where it can also link to the 2020 energies, because Saturn and Jupiter conjunction. Saturn is all that past patterning and programming and the weight of the heavy things that taught us lessons. And Jupiter is the harvest of the blessings. And then, of course, next we will be heading into the Rune of Ewas. So the Rune of Ewas is actually another phase of rebirth. Sometimes it requires a little more patience and perseverance and endurance, as I'm sure anyone who has birthed a child or a project knows. But it's also a rune of success and strength and stability. And then after that, we go into the Rune of Pertho, which is the rune of destiny and truths and initiation. That's going to take us through the end of Capricorn season astrologically and take us into the rune of Aquarius. And of course, this 2020 time is a huge escalation into the age of Aquarius, and the rune of Elhaz is a rune of Aquarius and of protection and friendship and altruism. optimism, higher life, and connection with the gods. So that will almost be the end of the little Wheel of the Year recap that we're going to, but the gods and guides also wanted me to mention the Rune of Suelo, which will take us and bridge the gap between Aquarius and Pisces season, to mention that that is a rune of the sun. It is a rune of victory and beyond, and of course there are many, many solar light codes also streaming through in this time, being that today is a solstice and an equinox day. The sun, our ancestors noticed, seemed to stand still in the sky, and I just want to encourage you that if things in your life seem as if they are a standstill, the blessings are on their way. It is just the fact that we are releasing so many timelines and negative energies and entities and past programs that haven't worked and served us in balance and blessing. They have served us in teaching us many things, but they taught us the hard way. And now we are being asked to usher in and accept and allow in this time of great blessings, where we get to learn through the harvest of the blessings that we've been working so diligently for and have already always been worthy of. I want to show you a last encouraging sign here, that the Rune of Elhaz showed up for me with this beautiful prism rainbow. This was natural light that came through my window and showed up. So I just want that to be another encouraging sign that I share with you, to let you know that these things are and can be real, and the blessings are on their way, especially in this time of shifting timelines. It's also about continuing to believe that, and when a negative timeline or a difficult timeline pops up to the surface to be dealt with and healed and cleared and released, try not to keep believing in that and grounding and anchoring yourself into that. Do your best to recognize it and let it pass through, and use your runic knowledge or any of your divinatory powers and connections to do whatever feels best for you and your guidance, to tap back into light and love and faith and strength and perseverance. Because remember that we also, Rune of the Year, wheel or not, astrological natal chart or not, we always have the power, as we continue to uncover and remember our abilities to do so, to tap back into the light and usher in the next best possible timelines. We just also have to remember to keep grounding those ways into being. So I hope this has helped you today. Please bookmark it and come back to it. Perhaps this is something that we will explore further in videos to come. I'll just pop this rune chart back up here for you. Maybe this is something that we do more often, or perhaps in a future video I go through the full rune wheel with you. Let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in that. Share this with someone that you believe will find it helpful to help them understand the energies and their own power. Thank you for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe. That really helps out the video to get it to as many people as possible. If this has helped you and you are called and drawn and able, I have a PayPal open, which is always linked either in my bio or in the description, depending on which platform you're watching this on. If you're called and able to give any donation in exchange for the energy that I extend in order to do this work, those are greatly appreciated. And if you'd like to work with me personally on a one-on-one basis through sessions or healings, you can DM or email me about that as well. Other links will be found in my bio or description for other offerings and things that I have at your disposal. So be blessed, happy journeying, happy transitioning, keep the faith, and know that you are worthy and you are loved. With love and light codes always, love Danielle, #damsel at Dee's Enlightened Edits. Bye for now.